Hello and welcome to Etude number 8, part 3. This is part of the Villa-Lobos 12 and 12 challenge, and we're just going to dive straight into this fantastic section. Welcome to micro-study number 8. Let's dive into the main points. First thing, practice open strings for those sextuplets. If you're finding it difficult, get the open strings down, chuck out the left hand, makes it easier. Secondly, use sequential planting on the sextuplets and full planting on the chords. It will help secure this section. And finally, anchor finger number 2. It stays down this entire time. Do not let it off. Practice everything around anchor finger number 2. Let's take a closer look. Welcome to micro study number 8. We have a C sharp minor triad with fingers 1, 2 and 4 on C sharp, E and G sharp respectively. For the majority of this, we have a bar to begin with, because on top of that VillaLobos is putting in an octave C sharp at the bottom there. So we have that first. The second chord, with the second finger staying down, uses a C natural, an E and a G sharp, and the clash of the G sharp against the G natural. And then the third chord uses A sharp, E, G sharp, C sharp again. So a fantastic series of chords there, and they are broken up with a sextuplet arpeggio. Top tip here, and like I said earlier, was practice open strings. Full planting, sequential planting. And here we go. So putting that all together, we get this. Chord. Now, the main technical issue here is being able to go from here into that sextuplet fast with your right hand. So again, like I said before, practice it, open strings. And that is it. In essence, this is probably one of the quickest micro studies going, because there is only that, and those two bars repeat twice. So let's take a look at this nice and slowly. To the next microstudy number 9. Welcome to microstudy number 9. This is just a continuation of the previous one, except we're using open strings, and all VillaLobos is doing here is clashing the 6th and the 5th from the harmonic minor scale. Now this is used to great effect in Hans Zimmer's theme for Wonder Woman, and it's used to great effect in this Etude too. So let's take a closer look. All the main points from the previous micro-study still stand. Welcome to micro-study number 9. We are picking up where we left off, which was here at the C sharp minor chord. 4, 2, 1, respectively on 6, 5 and 4, starting at 9, 7 and 6. Now we get this wonderful clash here because VillaLobos is evoking G sharp against the G natural. There's a couple of ways of looking at this, both of them related to the harmonic minor scale. The first one is if we take it as a C sharp harmonic minor, we have 1, 2, 3, 4, flat 5, 6, which adds a little bit of extra spice to it. Or you could think of it as a mode of the G sharp harmonic minor scale, in which case we get 1, 2, 3, fourth mode of G sharp harmonic minor. Either way, it doesn't matter. It's a lovely feeling and a lovely sound, and it's used wonderfully in the Wonder Woman theme. Right, back to the guitar. There is nothing really difficult here. Open strings if needs be to practice your sextuplets. using sequential planting, so touch type, touch type, touch type, or touch, play, touch, play, touch, play. And I would suggest, if you really want to get fast, speed bursts. And just muters. You don't need to play open strings, you don't need a left hand. Anyway, this is just mainly a static chord. The heavy lifting is done by the guitar with the open G against the G sharp. Let's take a look at this nice and slowly. 10. Right, microstudy number 10 is the fantastic big scale section of this etude. Unfortunately, in the 1950s edition, we lost Villa-Lobos's fingering, which really explained what it was he was after. He was after a digital pattern, which can be seen in the 1928 edition, which has been restored here in this study guide. So, main points here are: count out loud the switch from 16th notes to triplets. Make sure you've got a metronome or a pulse going and you will feel the shift. Again, it's a harmonic break. Villa-Lobos uses them across all of his etudes. Secondly, use your thumb on the 6th, 5th and 4th strings respectively, and then it just becomes a simple P-I-M-A for the rest of the pattern. And finally, slurred notes, not strength, speed. The faster you hammer down, the louder it'll be. Don't try and squish it in and use your strength. That's not how slurs work. Precision and speed. Let's take a closer look. Alright, welcome to microstudy number 10. Microstudy number 10 is the big scale section, or the first scale section to this etude. We pick it off on the C sharp note, and the fingering is 1-4 from fret 6 to fret 9, 2-4, 7 to 9, and then it is just a digital pattern of 1-3-4, 1-3-4, 1-3-4, 1-3, and then a plucked 4. So there is nothing scary about that. There is nothing difficult about this other than a digital pattern, and making sure that your hammer-ons are nice and clear. Everything hinges on fret 6, so as long as you've got fret 6 in mind, the rest of it doesn't matter. That entire section is all semiquavers, so if the pulse is here, it's 1E and a 2E and a 1E and a 2E and a 1 and a 2 and a da. And then Villa-Lobos pulls the brakes back into triplets for the next section. The triplets start here at the C sharp again, and we have a little chromatic fragment, and then into the next microstudy. So we have, and the main tip here is to keep an eye on my right hand, because my right hand is doing thumb, 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 I, M, A as I play through this. Let's take a look at that nice and slowly. Welcome to microstudy number 11. This is the scale continuing from the previous one, going down the fretboard in triplets. Main points here are: the scale can be fingered in a variety of ways, so please experiment to find your own phrasing or choices. Secondly, count the sextuplets on the end here as fast triplets if needs be. We have a pulse on the main beat, 3 and 4 and 1 and a 2 and a 3 and a 4 and a, or if you want and you're into conical, taki da taki da taki da taki da da, which makes it easier to feel and get those sextuplets in. The hammer-on in the end of the sextuplets needs a little bit of strength. This time here you're going to go against what I said before. You are going to need to concentrate and push in a little bit, not a lot, because you're using a bar chord. There, it's that simple with the other fingers down. So that mechanism is going to need a little bit of work. Practice it separately. And finally, last thing, that A before we go back in requires a hinge bar, because the next bit is back into the chords, into the second section. It's a reprise of the second section melody. Let's take a closer look. Microstudy number 11. So here we are. We've just done the chromatic fragment and we're down on an open string, and it literally is a lovely, just wonderful clash and series of notes from the D sharp Phrygian, D sharp Spanish Phrygian, or mode 5 of the G sharp harmonic minor. I'll show you in a second. Let's just do the fingering. So we've got open string, 3-1, D sharp to C sharp, open string, 3-1, A sharp to G sharp, open string, 2-1, E to D sharp. It's a lovely, spicy sound, and it's fantastic here, and it really contrasts with everything that we've heard before. Right, harmonic wise, if you're familiar with the Spanish Phrygian, where you have that second to raised third, we've got that here as well. But it all relates back to the G sharp harmonic minor. And it's mode 5 of the G sharp harmonic minor, which again is where we got this sound from, which was mode 4 of the G sharp harmonic minor. But anyway, that aside, we carry on down to the D sharp, and then we have this fantastic chord, which is a minor major 7. It's nothing more than a minor chord with a raised 7 in it. Normally we would have a normal 7, F sharp, but here we have a raised 7. It's used to great effect in films, and if you study jazz you'll have come across this a ton as well, because it's used as a alternative dominant 7 sound to push you back into the beginning, which is again what Villa-Lobos is doing here, because he's aiming for this chord and this sound, and he's achieving it with that sound there. There you go. It's a fantastic jazzy cadence. So the fingering for that G sharp minor major 7 chord is barred across fret 4, 1, 3 on the D sharp, then we have the raised 7, which is just a G natural with the second finger. The B is part of the barré, and then we have the D sharp to F, hammer on. I would suggest you practice that on its own, maybe even take those fingers out, and then put those fingers back in. And the trick is to try and get your right hand to go tucky to da. Again, make sure you've got a pulse and just count it out. And then finally, after this, on that H, make sure that you have your barré standing up and ready to rock and roll. Do not leave your fingers down. Hinge bar, or even full bar if you want to, but I would use a hinge bar just to give yourself a relax, just to release the pressure of the G sharp. And it really helps with getting back into that C sharp minor chord. Let's take a look at this nice and slowly. Cheers! Thank you for staying until the end. I hope you found this helpful. Again, this is part of the Villa-Lobos 12 and 12 challenge, 12 etudes across 12 months, which is possible. We're now on etude number 8. Who knew? There are a load of extra lessons, in-depth reviews, what CD to buy, who should you be listening to, all over at classicalguitarrocks.com. Head over there and grab yourself some free stuff. Have a great day.